Well, howdy there, Internet students. It's Mr. Hermanson again. We're starting lesson 6.1e, simplifying expressions. First thing we need to do is review a thing called the distributive property. I'm not sure how much of this you did, but it comes from the idea of multiplying dimensions in a rectangle. So just a quick reminder on how you find the area of a rectangle. You multiply length times width. So this area here would be, you could either write it as 4 times 5 or as 20, right? So you have to multiply the dimensions to get the area. When you have a variable in, it would look like this, 7 times m. And in algebra, we do not put a sign in between the two. Like I put a dot in here, you wouldn't do that when you have a variable involved. So that means 7 times m. Go ahead and do 3 and 4. On the last one, you actually have x times x, and we don't want to use that. We would never write x like this, so we use a power to show that. We're multiplying by the same base twice. All right. So in each of these now, find the area in each of the box. So this one would be 4x, and the next one would be 4 times 3, which is 12. I'm not sure where that 3.5 came from, but we want to do 4 times 3. We can assume that the width on this one is same as the width on this one, so they're both 4. 4 times 3. I mean, you could put the 7 here just to remind yourself if you want, but go ahead and fill in those boxes. Now, how'd you do in the last one? Did you remember to multiply both dimensions, the 2 and this dimension here, which is the same as this dimension here, x. So 2 times x. All right, when we're trying to find the total length of a segment, we're going to use plus to total them up. So for this one here, we're going to add this piece plus this piece to get the total, and that expression would be x plus 9. Go ahead and do the next two. All right, now here's where we're going to learn how to use a rectangular diagram to help us multiply expressions together. So I'm going to find the area of this part right here by multiplying the 5 and the x together. So the area of that rectangle is 5 times x. And the area of the other rectangle is 5 times 7, which is 35. Now we can actually represent that area of the total big rectangle a couple of ways. I could use the outside dimensions, so this total length right here is x plus 7, like we were doing up above here, x plus 7. And I can multiply that by this dimension here, which is 5, and that would look like this. 5 times, when we have parentheses, we say the quantity x plus 7. Okay. The other way I could find this total area is just to add the two parts together. This part, which is 5x, plus this part, which is 35. Okay. And in doing this, we're learning how to multiply a number times an expression with a variable in it. Okay. So in this one, we're going to do x times, so this total length up here would be x plus 12. So using parentheses, we can say this is the length, or the width, and the x plus 12 is the total length. So the area is x times the quantity, x plus 12. That's a 1 there. Now, if I want to find the area as a sum, I would represent each of these areas, multiplying their length and width. So x times x, remember that will be x to the second power. And then we're going to do x times 12, which we do 12x. Now, it is standard procedure to put the number first and then the variable. You would never write it as x times 12 like this, because that looks too much like times 12 when you do it that way. So put the number first and then the variable. go ahead and, oh, and then I'm going to add these two parts together, the x squared plus the 12x. And what we see is that this expression is the same as this expression because they both represent the areas. Go ahead and try number 13. Here's what you should have got for that one. All right, so you're going to practice doing this, and I'll do the first one for you, so you shouldn't get this wrong. And also listen to how our standard form we're going to use when we write these on your Google form. Because otherwise you could easily get it the wrong answer just by putting a space in or something like that. So I'm going to do, I'll do number 15 for you here. So to get this without parentheses, you have to multiply, think of this as the length and this is the width. I have to multiply the 7 times the x, which is 7x, and then I have to multiply the 7 times the 3, which is 21. And since it's subtracting, I would put a subtraction sign in between. Now, when you write this on a Google form, let's not put any spaces right here where you put the subtraction and then put the 21. Another thing is, if this were 1x, don't write 1x on your Google form like that. Just write x. And if it's 7x minus 21 can also be written as 7x plus negative 21. Let's write it in the subtraction form, like this, and not like this. All right, so if we standardize it, hopefully you can get the problems right and write them in the correct way. Oh yeah, one more thing. If you have a power, like you're going to have in this one, you're going to do x times x, which is x to the second power. And then you have to do x times 9. Make sure you put the number first, not the variable. So it's x squared plus 9x. To write x squared plus 9x on the computer, you're going to have to use the caret symbol, which is like the up symbol. It's right above the 6. Shift 6. Okay, so this expression would look like this when you put it on your Google form. All right, if you do that, hopefully you can have some luck getting the answers right. But there's more to this lesson. We're going to also learn how to factor, how to undo this process. So remember that to get this area, we would multiply length times width, 2 times x. And to get this area, we would multiply 2 times 6 to get 12. So here are your two expressions that you get. Now, what if we have this expression and we want this other expression? So 5x plus 20. So I have this area, and I want to go back and find the length. So basically, I'm saying, how do you divide this? Okay. So basically, what you have to do is figure out what number times 5 gives you 5x, and that would be x. What number times 5 gives you 20, and that would be 4. So this length is x plus 4. That's going to go in the parentheses. And then this width is 5. That's going to go outside the parentheses. So these two expressions are equivalent. If you multiply 5 times x, you get 5x. If you multiply 5 times 4, you get 20. All right, so see if you can do those. All right, here's what I got for those. So to fill in these missing dimensions, you can use this diagram. So this would be the area when you're adding the two parts together. So the 5x and the 35 would go there. This 5 is this dimension out here, the width. So we need to find the length. So we're going to think 5 times what gives us 5x, and that would be x. And that goes right here. And then 5 times what equals 35, and that would be 7. And then this length here would be x plus 7. So that goes there. All right, I'll do one more with you. So the 2x plus 12 is the area when we add the two parts of the rectangle together. The 2 is the width, and then the length is what we need to multiply by 2 to get these things. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 6 is 12, so this length is x plus 6. All right, when you have a subtraction, the only difference is, so we're going to have 3x here, and you're going to put a negative 21 there. So 3 and x makes sense here because 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 7 would give you negative 21. So on the outside, the width is 3. On the inside, even though this is a negative, we're going to add this x and this negative 7 together. Now you could write x plus negative 7, but remember that adding a negative is the same as subtracting, so the simpler way to write it is x minus 7, and that's the way I'm going to write it when you fill in your Google form. Again, don't put any spaces in your answer when you do the Google form, but go ahead and try these 3 problems, see if you get them right. Now, one thing you might want to take note of here is if you have a negative 3 here, then let's factor out the negative 3 and use negative 3 as the width. That way we don't have to have a negative x. So, so that'll be standard to do it that way, to factor out the negative if the first term in this expression is negative like this one is and this one is. Okay. Also notice here I have a negative. This should just be negative 5, not negative 5x. But I have negative 5 times negative 9 because this is a positive 45. So in this expression, I have a minus 9 for that. All right. So you can go ahead and try and factor these. So what you're going to do is look for a number that multiplied will go into both of those. In this case, it's 4. And then you have to figure out what number times that. You can use a diagram if you want to, if you think that'll help you. If you do the diagram, you would put 4x here, minus 16 here, 4 there, x there, and think about 4 times what number equals negative 16, and that's negative 4. And then you're going to just put x minus 4 in here. Okay, don't put any spaces in there when you put it in the Google form. All right, on this one, I'm going to recommend that you don't put 4 in front because 18 isn't divisible by 4 perfect. Let's just put 2 in front there and then figure out what number. So in here, use 2 for your outside dimension and figure out what number times 2 equals 18 for this dimension here. All right, good luck with that. We'll talk to you soon.